Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tackling a subject that, frankly, scares the hell out of a lot of people. It's a word that feels like you're either born with it or you're, destined to live in the shadows forever.
Right.
We are talking about charisma. And I have to admit, when I first picked up the source material for today, I was skeptical. I've always thought of charisma as this lightning in a bottle quality, the JFKs, the Oprahs, the people who just walk in and the room tilts toward them.
It's the X factor, right? We tend to view it as some kind of mystical endowment. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't, well, good luck. Sit in the corner and take notes.
Exactly. But our deep dive today is into The Charismatic Leader by John C. Maxwell. And if you know Maxwell, you know he's not really into mysticism. He's into mechanics.
Oh, completely.
He's the heavyweight champion of leadership literature, New York Times, #1 bestseller, millions of copies sold. And his central argument here is, well, it's pretty radical. He says charisma is not a personality trait you inherit. It's a skill set you can learn.
And that is the absolute game changer. It shifts the entire conversation from DNA to discipline.
DNA to discipline.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maxwell is basically arguing that charisma is a series of choices we make about how we interact with other people. It's not about having a magnetic personality. It's about having a magnetic focus.
And to set the stage for this, we have to start with the hook that Maxwell drops right in the introduction. It's a quote from Frederick L. Collins. And honestly, I think this one quote is worth the price of admission. It frames everything we're going to talk about.
It's the foundational thesis, really. Collins writes, "There are two types of people in the world. Those who come into a room and say, 'Here I am,' and those that come in and say, 'Ah, there you are.'"
Here I am versus there you are. It sounds so simple, almost too simple. But when you really chew on that, it's a profound psychological shift, isn't it?
It is. I mean, think about the "Here I am" person. We all know them.
Yep.
They walk into the party or the meeting, and their energy is just projecting outward, demanding attention. Look at my outfit. Listen to my story. Validate my status. It's fundamentally egocentric.
It's all about them.
But the there you are" person, their energy is, well, you use the word allocentric. It's focused entirely on the other.
Allocentric. That's a term we don't hear often, but it's perfect.
It just means other-centered. And the irony, which Maxwell points out so brilliantly, is that the person shouting, "Here I am," usually pushes people away. It's exhausting to be around them.
So draining.
But the person saying, "There you are," the one who makes you feel seen, who makes you feel important, that is the person we are drawn to. That is the essence of magnetism.
So if we want to deconstruct charisma, we basically have to learn how to master the there you are mindset. We have to retrain our brains to stop scanning the room for who's looking at us and start looking for them.
Precisely. And Maxwell breaks this down into a really clear roadmap that mirrors the structure of the book. It's not just a list of ticks, it's a progression. We're going to walk through 3 distinct phases today.
Okay, lay it out for us.
First, becoming interested in people. Second, becoming invested in people. And finally, becoming interesting to people.
I noticed that order immediately. Interesting comes last.
Yeah.
That seems backward to most people.
That's the trap, right? We all fall into it. We try to be interesting first to get attention. We tell our best story. We wear our best clothes. Maxwell says, no, you earn the right to be interesting by first being interested and then by being invested.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this. Phase 1, becoming interested in people. And Maxwell kicks this off with a concept he calls the big picture principle.
He does. And he uses a line that is sort of a splash of cold water to the face of anyone with an ego.
Oh.
He says the entire population of the world, with one minor exception, is composed of other people.
Yeah, that is a humbling statistic when you put it that way.
It is, but it's also the key to the big picture. If you view your life as a movie where you are the protagonist and everyone else is just an extra, you are going to be miserable. You're fighting reality.
You're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Constantly. But if you realize that the world is largely about others, you tap into a different source of purpose. Maxwell uses the story of Danny Thomas to illustrate this.
The entertainer, right?
Yeah.
The guy who started St. Jude's.
The very same. Now, we know him as a legend, but Maxwell recounts that early in his career, Thomas was struggling. He was talented, sure, but he was lost. He was chasing fame, chasing that "here I am" moment.
Right.
He was finally successful in the traditional sense movies, shows, money, but he felt hollow.
Which is such a common theme with high achievers, that is that all there is moment.
Exactly. It wasn't until he shifted his focus entirely off himself and onto a cause sick children that he found his big picture. He famously said, "Success is what you do for others." Once he started St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, his charisma shifted. He wasn't just a funny guy anymore. He was a man on a mission. People wanted to be around him because he stood for something bigger than ourselves.
There's an energy component to this that I really want to drill down on because I feel like focusing on yourself, maintaining the image, worrying about how you sound is incredibly draining.
It's exhausting. It's a constant caloric burn of anxiety. Maxwell brings in a fantastic example from the sports world to prove this. Coach Bill McCartney from the University of Colorado. This is back in the early 90s.
I love a good sports psychology story. So set the scene for us.
Okay, so Colorado is facing their arch-rival, Nebraska, and they are playing at Nebraska. This is a hostile environment, but the context is even worse. Colorado hasn't won a game in that stadium in 23 years.
23 years. That's a curse. That's a generational trauma for a football team.
Exactly. So you can imagine the locker room. The players are tight. They are anxious. They're thinking about their own stats, thinking, don't mess up. Don't be the guy who loses it. That is pure here I am energy. It's all focused on self-preservation.
Okay, so what does Coach Mac do?
He tries a radical psychological pivot. He tells the players, I want you to pick someone you love, someone who means the world to you. Call them before the game and tell them you are dedicating this game to them.
Whoa. That's powerful.
He told them to imagine that person watching every single play. Every block, every tackle, every yard was a gift to that person.
That completely reframes the pressure, doesn't it? It stops being about my performance and starts being about my contribution.
And they won 27-12. By shifting the focus from self to other, they bypass the performance anxiety. Maxwell's point is that self-focus drains energy because it's fear-based. Others' focus generates energy because it's luck-based. And that's a fuel source that doesn't run out.
That's a really powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
But let me play devil's advocate here for a second. It's easy to focus on people you love, like your mom or your kid. But in the workplace or, just in life, we have to deal with difficult people. How does a charismatic leader handle the person who's acting like a jerk?
That leads us directly to the second skill Maxwell outlines, and it's a tough one. Believe the best of others. He uses this visual metaphor of putting a 10 on everyone's forehead.
So you're treating everyone like they're a 10 out of 10, even if they're currently acting like a 2.
Especially when they are acting like a 2. This isn't about being naive or a pushover. It's about leadership. Maxwell quotes Reggie Jackson, the baseball legend, who said, "A great manager has a knack for making ball players think they are better than they are."
So it's the benefit of the doubt as a strategic tool.
It is. And psychologically, this connects to something called the fundamental attribution error. We tend to judge ourselves by our intentions because they are invisible to everyone else but us. I cut you off in traffic because I'm late for the hospital, not because I'm a bad driver. But we judge others by their actions. He cut me off because he's a jerk.
Right. I have a nuanced reason, you have a character flaw. It's so true.
Charismatic leaders consciously flip that script. They choose to judge others by their intentions, even when they can't see them. They extend grace. Maxwell quotes David Augsburger, who said, "We are saved by forgiveness." If you walk into a room assuming everyone there has good intentions and high value, if you see the 10 on their forehead, your body language changes. You become open. You smile more authentically. And guess what? People unconsciously rise to meet that expectation.
It's the Pygmalion effect. If I treat you like a 10, you're more likely to act like one. But if I treat you like a 2, you'll definitely give me a 2 performance.
Exactly. You get what you expect.
Now, this leads to a really important distinction Maxwell makes in the next chapter about adding value to people. Because I think this is where charisma can go really wrong. We've all met the charismatic salesperson who makes you feel great until you sign the check and then they just vanish.
The used car salesman vibe. Maxwell addresses this head-on. He distinguishes between manipulation and motivation. And the difference isn't in the technique, it's in the heart.
Okay, break that down for us.
Manipulation is moving people for your personal advantage. Motivation is moving people for mutual advantage. You cannot truly add value to people if you are viewing them as resources to be mined.
So you have to check your motives at the door. Am I doing this to help them or to help me?
Right. And here is the self-improvement paradox that Maxwell introduces, which can sound a bit confusing at first. He says, to add value to others, you must value yourself. You cannot give what you do not have.
Wait, isn't that contradictory? We just spent 10 minutes saying focus on others.
It sounds like it is, but think about it. If you are empty, burned out, uneducated, or insecure, What do you have to offer? You got to fill your own cup, gain knowledge, build character, find peace so that you can pour it out.
Ah,
So self-improvement becomes an act of service, not selfishness. You grow so you can give.
that's the oxygen mask rule on an airplane. Put yours on first so you can help others.
That's the perfect analogy.
Okay, moving on to one of the most practical, actionable chapters in the book, chapter 4. Encourage others every time you meet. Maxwell calls this the 30-second rule.
This is a gem. This is something anyone can start doing tomorrow. Maxwell's father, Melvin Maxwell, practiced this religiously. The rule is simple. Within the first 30 seconds of any conversation, say something encouraging. Validate the person.
Before you get to business, before you ask for an update on the project.
Immediately. And this isn't just fluffy, be nice advice. There is hard science here. Maxwell cites the ergograph study by psychologist Henry H. Goddard.
The ergograph. Sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. What is it?
It was a machine designed to measure physical muscle fatigue. Goddard would have tired children use the machine to pull a weight, measuring their energy output.
Okay, and what did he find?
He found that when the tired children were praised, "You're doing great, good job," the machine registered an immediate physical surge in energy. The line on the graph went up. But when they were criticized or discouraged, their physical energy nosedived.
So words aren't just air. They're literal fuel. They change our physiology.
They alter our capacity to perform. Maxwell tells the famous story of Vince Lombardi and Jerry Kramer to illustrate this. Now, Lombardi was a tough coach, a screamer. He rode his players hard.
I've heard stories.
One day, he absolutely destroyed Jerry Kramer after a bad practice, just tore him apart.
Oh, man.
Kramer said he was sitting in his locker, head in his hands, thinking, "I'm done, I'm quitting, I can't play for this man." He was physically and emotionally tapped out. The ergograph was at 0. Lombardi walks into the locker room. He sees Kramer. He walks over, ruffles his hair, pats him on the shoulder, and says, "Son, one of these days, you're going to be the best guard in the NFL."
Talk about a whiplash moment. From total destruction to total belief.
Kramer said that one sentence was the fuel that carried him for the rest of his career. He ended up in the Hall of Fame. That is the power of the 30-second rule. You have the power to dispense energy to people just by opening your mouth. Why wouldn't you use it?
But, and here is the hurdle for me personally, to encourage someone effectively, you usually need to know who they are. You need to know their name. And I have to be honest, I am terrible at this. I'm the guy who introduces his boss to his own wife and forgets a name.
You are definitely not alone. I'm bad with names is the most common excuse in the world. But Maxwell says, stop it. It's not a lack of ability, it's a lack of strategy.
The lack of strategy.
Dale Carnegie said a person's name is the sweetest and most important sound in any language. If you forget it, you are unintentionally saying, "You don't matter to me."
Ouch. Okay, so how do we fix it? Maxwell gives us a mnemonic from Jerry Lucas, the Dr. Mary guy, the STE method.
Right. SAVE. It's super simple to remember. S is for say. Say the name 3 times immediately. "Hi, Dave." "So, Dave, where are you from?" "Nice to meet you, Dave." It forces your brain to tag the audio file.
Okay, that makes sense.
A is for ask. Ask a question about the name. Is that with a D? Is that a family name? It creates context hooks for your memory. V is for visualize. This is the fun one. Associate the name with a physical feature or an image.
And E?
E is for end. End the conversation with the name. Great talking to you, Dave.
Now, the visualization part, Maxwell actually shares a story where this backfired spectacularly. And I love that he included this because it shows that even the experts look like idiots sometimes.
The Hargis Lake blunder. This is a classic. So Maxwell meets a couple. Their last name is Lake. He decides to use the visualization technique. He thinks, okay, lake, like a body of water. But specifically, his brain goes to a place called Hargis Lake that he knew growing up.
I can see the train wreck coming down the tracks.
He spends the whole conversation locking in this image of Hargis Lake. A few days later, he sees them in a crowd. He walks up, big smile, full of confidence, and shouts, "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Hargis."
Oh, no.
Complete silence. But the lesson is, have a sense of humor about it. If you mess up, admit it, laugh at yourself, and ask again. The effort counts more than the perfection.
Okay, so we know their name now, but that's just the label on the jar. We need to know what's inside. Chapter 6 is learn what matters to people.
This is about moving from, how about this weather, to actual connection. Maxwell says you can't motivate someone if you don't know what makes them tick. He lists 3 key-to-the-heart questions that I think everyone should memorize.
I wrote these down. What do you dream about? What do you cry about? And what do you sing about?
Think about the depth of those questions. What do you dream about tells you their ambition. What do you cry about tells you their compassion, what breaks their heart, and what do you sing about tells you their joy.
If you know those three things about someone, you really know them. But you can't just, ask those in the first 5 minutes. Hi, I'm Steve. What makes you cry?
No, you'd get some strange looks. You have to build trust, and you have to keep asking because of what Maxwell calls change indicators. People change. What made you cry at 20 is different from what makes you cry at 40. Charisma requires staying in the conversation.
And staying in the conversation means shutting up. Which brings us to Chapter 7. Listen with an open heart.
The hardest skill of all. Most of us listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. We are just waiting for a pause so we can say our brilliant thing.
Guilty as charged. I do that all the time.
We all do. Maxwell references Captain Michael Abrashoff, author of It's Your Ship. Abrashoff took over one of the worst performing ships in the Navy. He realized his problem was that he was barking orders but ignoring the expertise of his crew, so he decided to listen aggressively.
Listen aggressively. I love that phrasing. It implies it's an active sport, not passive.
It is. It's hard work. He started interviewing every sailor. What would you change? Why do we do it this way? He found that the crew had brilliant ideas for efficiency that were dying on the vine because nobody asked. When he started listening, the ship's performance skyrocketed.
So it's not just about making people feel good, it's about getting results.
Absolutely. And Maxwell has a trick for this too, right? Because he admits he's naturally impatient.
Yeah, what was that?
He writes the letter L on the corner of his legal pad in meetings. It stands for listen. It's just a little visual trigger to remind him to close his mouth and open his ears.
Simple but effective. And when you listen, what you are really looking for is their story. That's Chapter 8. Learn everyone's story.
Everyone wants to be the protagonist of their own life. When you ask, what's your story, you are saying you could be special, but when you listen and remember it, you are saying you are special. It validates their entire existence.
And that validation is the perfect segue to the end of Part 1. Express how much you value someone.
This is about the multiplier effect. Maxwell makes a crucial distinction between private praise and public praise. Telling someone good job in private is valuable, it's good. But telling them good job in front of their peers, or even better, in front of their family, multiplies the impact by 10.
He tells the story of Charlie Wetzel, his writer.
Right, Charlie has written with Maxwell for decades. But early on, Charlie was insecure. He needed validation. Maxwell was recording a lesson on eagles, his term for high performers. And on the tape, he publicly used Charlie as the example of an eagle.
He put it on the permanent record.
Exactly. Charlie said that moment changed his self-image. He stopped hoping he was good enough and started knowing he was valued. As George Matthew Adams said, compliments are oxygen to the soul. If you withhold them, the relationship suffocates.
Okay, so that wraps up Part 1. We've covered the internal game. We are officially interested. We've shifted from here I am to there you are. But now we have to move to Part 2, becoming invested in people. This is where we stop just watching and listening and we start acting.
This is the shift from feeling to doing. Empathy is feeling with someone. Compassion is doing something about it. And it starts with Chapter 10. Be quick to help others.
Maxwell opens this section with a Hollywood story I hadn't heard before, about Tom Hanks on the set of The Green Mile.
It's such a beautiful example of professional generosity. So Tom Hanks is the biggest star in the world at this point. Michael Clark Duncan is the up-and-comer, playing the gentle giant John Coffey. There are these intensely emotional scenes where the camera was focused tight on Duncan. Hanks was off camera. He didn't even need to be there.
Right. Usually the star goes to his trailer and lets the script supervisor read the lines in a monotone voice.
Exactly. But Hanks stayed, and he didn't just stay, he acted his heart out. He cried, he screamed, he gave full intensity off camera just to give Duncan something real to react to. He was helping his co-star win the scene.
That's incredible. But there's a historical example Maxwell uses that hits even harder. It's the story of Jesse Owens and Luz Long at the 1936 Olympics.
This story gives me chills every time I read it. The context is everything here. It's Berlin, 1936. The height of Nazi propaganda. Hitler is in the stands, wanting to prove Aryan supremacy.
And Jesse Owens, a black American, is the target of all that hate.
Owens is rattling. He's trying to qualify for the long jump, but he keeps fouling. He has one jump left. If he fouls again, he's out. The pressure is just unimaginable.
And Luz Long is the German favorite. He is the Aryan ideal. He is Owens' direct rival.
And this is where true charisma, true leadership shines. Long sees what's happening. He walks over to Owens in front of Hitler. in front of the frantic German crowd, and he gives Owens technical advice.
No way.
He tells him to mark a spot several inches before the board to ensure he doesn't foul. It was a simple trick to take the pressure off.
He helps his enemy beat him.
Owens qualifies. He goes on to win the gold medal. Long takes silver. And the very first person to congratulate Owens right there in front of the Nazis is Les Long. Owens later said, "You could melt down all the medals and cups I have, and they wouldn't be a plating on the 24-karat friendship I felt for Les Long at that moment."
That is heavy.
Yeah.
That is incredibly risky.
Helping others is often risky. It cost Long something to do that, but it built a bridge that history still talks about.
And that leads us perfectly to Chapter 11. Invite people to join your team. Because once you help people, you realize you can't do big things alone.
Maxwell had this epiphany in 1974. He realized, the dream is bigger than me. He needed to move from me to we. He actually printed up these little cards that said, "I have a dream. It is as large as the world, but it begins with one. Won't you join me?"
There's a certain vulnerability in asking for help like that.
There is. But people want to be needed. Maxwell references a Peanuts comic strip. Lucy asks Charlie Brown to help with her homework, promising eternal gratitude. Charlie helps, but it's too easy, so Lucy retracts the eternal gratitude and just offers a "thanks, bro."
That is classic Lucy.
But Charlie Brown's reaction is the key. He wanted the gratitude. He wanted the significance. When you invite someone onto your team, you are giving them significance. You are saying, "I cannot do this without you."
And when you bring them on board, you have to support them. Chapter 12. Encourage the dreams of others.
Dreams are fragile. Maxwell calls them soap bubbles. One harsh word, one skeptical look, and pop, they're gone. A charismatic leader has to be a dream protector.
He tells the story of Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert.
Yeah, so Adams was working a corporate job, trying to be a cartoonist on the side. He's getting rejected everywhere. He was ready to quit. Then he got a call from an editor named Sarah Gillespie. She offered him a contract, yes, but more importantly, she told him, "You are good enough."
That validation again.
Adams said that the moment he hung up the phone, his drawing ability actually improved. The confidence literally unlocked his motor skills. Maxwell says, most men die from the neck up at age 25 because they stop dreaming. A charismatic leader is a dream booster, not a dream buster.
Now, if the team succeeds, who gets the credit? That's Chapter 13. Share the credit with others.
This is the ultimate ego check. Maxwell writes, an egotist is not a person who thinks too much of himself. It's someone who thinks too little of other people.
Ouch. That's a good one.
The tactic here is simple. Reward employees while the sweat's still on their brow. Don't wait for the annual review. If they did good work today, praise them today.
But it has to be sincere, right? There's that joke about the dying man calling his wife a jinx.
Yes. He's on his deathbed. He says, honey, you were there when I got fired. You were there when the business failed. You were there when the house burned down. You're bad luck.
Don't be the bad luck charm. Be the person who actually notices the wins.
Exactly. If you fake credit, it feels patronizing. If you mean it, it feels heroic.
Chapter 14 is about being a memory maker, creating special moments for people.
This is about intentionality. Memories don't just happen, you have to design them. Maxwell shares the trout and steak story, which became a family legend.
This one made me laugh out loud when I read it.
So, his son Joel's fishing. He catches 8 trout. He's ecstatic. He calls his mom, Margaret, and says, we caught 8. Margaret mishears him. She thinks he said 8, as in we already ate dinner, so she goes out and buys steaks for when they get home.
The classic miscommunication.
Yeah.
I can relate.
So Joel walks in with his bucket of fish, expecting a hero's welcome and a fish fry, and finds steaks on the grill, and he looks at his dad and says, deadpan, Mom's not too good with numbers, is she?
That's hilarious.
And that became the running joke for 30 years. Mom's not good with numbers. Charismatic leaders cherish and cultivate those inside jokes. They bind a group together.
Moving to Chapter 15. Share information with others.
This is about creating an inner circle. If I tell you a secret, I am saying, I trust you. Hoarding information is a power play. Sharing it is an inclusion play.
Maxwell tells the joke about the ice fishing competition. The little boy is catching all the fish while the pros are catching nothing.
And they keep asking him his secret. He mumbles something. They ask again. Finally, he spits something into his hand and says, you gotta keep the worms warm. He had the worms in his mouth.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
But effective.
The point is, he shared the secret. He didn't hoard the worms tech. When you share what you know, you empower people.
Chapter 16 is profound. It's titled Speak into People's Lives.
This is deeper than just encouragement. This is about giving someone a reputation to uphold. Like a Yankees manager telling rookies, it's an honor to wear the pinstripes. Play like a Yankee. You are projecting a future identity onto them.
The story of Sister Helen Rosla broke me.
It's devastatingly beautiful. She was a math teacher. Her class was acting up. So she told them to take out a sheet of paper and write down the nicest thing they could say about every other student in the class.
A simple positivity exercise.
She compiled all the lists and gave each student their personal sheet. Years later, one of those students, Mark, was killed in Vietnam. At the funeral, Mark's father approached Sister Helen. He took a wallet out of his pocket. It was Mark's. And inside, refolded and taped together a dozen times, was that list.
He carried it into war with him.
And then, one by one, the other students, now adults, started pulling their lists out. One had it in her diary, one in his wedding album. They had kept those words for decades.
It really shows that your words have a shelf life of forever. You never know which sentence you speak is the one someone will carry in their wallet for 20 years.
Exactly. So speak carefully and speak life.
Finally, for part 2, chapter 17, build bridges for others.
This is the culmination of being invested. It's about using your privilege and connections to help others cross chasms they couldn't cross alone, like the old man in the poem who builds a bridge for the youth following him, even though he'll never cross it again.
Maxwell gives a real-world example of introducing the founder of Auntie Anne's Pretzels to Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A.
He used his social capital to connect two people who could help each other. That is the ultimate act of a connector and a truly charismatic person.
Okay, deep breath. We are focused on others. We are invested in others. We have helped them, encouraged them, and built bridges for them. Now and only now do we get to part 3, becoming interesting to people.
And notice the logic. By doing all the previous stuff, you have earned the right to be interesting. You have built a platform of trust and value.
Chapter 18 starts with a big one. Do everything with excellence.
Because competence is charismatic. We are naturally attracted to people who are great at what they do. It's compelling.
Maxwell uses the Dwight Eisenhower cow story. I'd never heard this.
I love this. Eisenhower felt insecure about his oratory skills. He wasn't a polished politician, he was a soldier. But he used an analogy of an old farmer selling a cow. The farmer says, she ain't got a pedigree. I don't know her butterfat stats. But she's a good cow, and she'll give you all the milk she has.
She'll give you all the milk she has. That's all you can ask for.
That's the definition of excellence. It's not about being perfect. It's about total effort. John Wooden said, make every day your masterpiece. When you commit to that, people notice. Excellence creates its own gravitational pull.
Chapter 19. Be a generous person.
This goes back to what we can call the pie theory. The scarcity mindset says, life is a small pie. If I give you a slice, I have less. The abundance mindset says, hey, let's bake more pies.
And Maxwell distinguishes between makers and takers.
Yes, takers consume value, makers add value. And generosity isn't just about money, it's about being generous with your time, your praise, and your patience. A generous spirit is incredibly attractive because it signals safety. It says, I'm here to give, not to take from you.
Chapter 20. Become a good storyteller.
Leaders are storytellers. You have to be able to package truth in a way that people can carry with them. Lincoln was criticized for telling too many jokes and yarns, but he knew that stories connected with the common people better than dry policy ever could.
And Maxwell gives us a formula. The 4 H's. Heart, hope, humor, and help.
If your story has one of those, it works. If it has all 4, it's a legend.
He tells the story of Benjamin West, the painter.
West was a little boy. He tried to paint a picture of his sister. He made a huge mess. Ink everywhere. His mother came in. She could have yelled. She could have punished him. Instead, she looked at the paper, kissed him on the head, and said, what a beautiful picture of your sister.
That reframed the whole event from a mistake to an act of love.
West said, with that kiss, I became a painter. The story isn't about the painting, it's about the connection. Maxwell says, don't tell stories to impress, tell stories to connect. Use the first person, be vulnerable, share your failures.
And finally, the summit. Chapter 21. Help people win.
This is the ultimate connection. Nothing bonds people like winning together.
The story of Lou Whitaker climbing Mount Everest in 1984 is the perfect closer.
It is leadership in a nutshell. They are at 27,000 feet, the death zone. They are exhausted. They need supplies from a lower camp. Whitaker, the leader, has to make a call. He sends 2 people down to get gear so the others can go up to the summit.
And by doing that, he sacrifices his own chance to get to the top.
He does. He stayed back to coordinate. He gave up the glory to ensure the team's success. He later said, "My job was to put other people on top."
My job was to put other people on top. That might be the best definition of leadership I've ever heard.
And the paradox is, by doing that, Whitaker became a legend. He didn't stand on the peak that day, but he stood taller than anyone else in the eyes of his team. When you help others win, you win.
So let's try to synthesize this massive deep dive. We've covered 21 specific skills. We've gone from the internal mindset of there you are to the external actions of helping, encouraging, and building bridges.
And if you look at the arc, it's a journey away from the ego. Most people think charisma is about being the star. It's about the spotlight being on you. Maxwell proves that true charisma is about being a mirror. It's about reflecting everyone else's light back at them so they shine brighter.
So if you make everyone else feel like the most important person in the room, you become the most magnetic person in the room by default.
Exactly. You become a source of energy, not a drain. And in a world that is exhausted, everyone wants to be near a source of energy.
So here is the challenge for you, the listener. We covered a lot of ground, from ergographs to warm worms. Don't try to do all 21 things tomorrow. You'll fail.
Pick one, just one. Maybe tomorrow you try the 30-second rule. Maybe you commit to learning the name of the security guard at your office. Maybe you write one note of encouragement.
Just try to shift from here I am to there you are for one day. See what happens to the energy in the room.
You might be surprised to find that when you stop trying to be fascinating, you suddenly become fascinating.
This has been the deep dive into the Charismatic Leader. We hope this gives you the tools to not just lead better, but to live better. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.